the last couple of years, let me just say these names they picked up at the deadline or in the last half of the season. Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, and Gabe Davis. It sounds like a group that, is a residency in Vegas trying to reclaim the glory years. I mean, like, that's not a great, those aren't great names to get you over the top. Cooper really gave them nothing. Gabe Davis, they let him go in free agency the first time. And Brandon Cooks has been with several teams. He can still get deep, but come on. I don't think people would look at Buffalo's pass catchers and say, that's a top 10 group in the league. It's not. I described, when we talked about Buffalo a couple weeks ago, just pass catchers aside, just their defense, Mike, I described them as a bunch of B pluses. I got a bunch of B pluses, a lot of good players, but not a lot of great players on Buffalo, especially on defense. So I agree with McDermott. I don't know if he said it in a way where he was trying to say, how could I possibly win with this group? Because now an owner doesn't want to hear that. When you're in a season and you're in playoff contention, and before the playoffs start, you say, we can't win, that might be problematic. But to take an honest assessment of the roster and say it could be better, I think that's fair.
The reality is that we have seen teams this year make moves, especially at receiver. The conventional wisdom is it's hard to plug and play a receiver into a new team. Now, sometimes know the offense, know the coach, know the quarterback, played for the team before, whatever the case may be. But you're asking a guy to uproot his life on the fly, and he's walking in as the new kid, as the stranger, doesn't know the playbook, doesn't know the checks, the line of scrimmage. Everybody else has been there. We've been here working, and you've just shown up. Now, I was working somewhere else, but they don't care. We're here. All right, grab an oar and let's row. And we saw it work for the Jaguars and Jacoby Myers. It worked so well they signed him to an extension. We saw it work for the Seahawks and Rashid Shaheed, who you could argue is single-handedly responsible for where they now are. The punt return that completely altered the game against the Rams in Week 16 Thursday night, that got the Rams special teams coordinator Chase Blackburn fired because it flipped everything. 30-16 became 30-22. Next thing you know, it's 30-30. Next thing you know, the Seahawks win the game 38-37 in overtime. And then the tone setter on Saturday night. Even though the soccer slide failed to take down Rashid Shaheed, he scores the touchdown on the opening kickoff. And look, we've seen opening kickoff touchdowns before that didn't deliver victory, like when the Bears and Devin Hester scored to start the game in Super Bowl 41. Colts still won. But, man, that's a tone setter. And Rashid Shaheed, that was a move that the Seahawks made. And they gave up draft pick capital to get him. The Saints traded Shaheed to the Seahawks. The Bills opted instead to wait for the Saints to release Brandon Cooks, who slipped through waivers, and the Bills signed him as a free agent. He contributed relative to the rest of the receivers, but was he really the best option? So, yeah, I think, and I have believed, that on the talent versus coaching front, it has been more about lack of talent than coaching. But there's only one person who gets a vote, and that one person decided it's coaching, not talent.
And I got to tell you, Mike, what do they see? I'm serious. What do they see that we don't see? Because this is not a Buffalo versus the world situation. This was a family drama. If you go back, and I know we played it last year, Brandon Beane was so sensitive when he's about to do his radio hit and he hears the guys on the radio talking about the receivers. Like, hey, we got to upgrade receiver. And he comes on the air and he's apoplectic. Oh, I don't know. What are you guys talking about? We got one of the top offenses in football. What do you mean we need more talent? Well, I don't know, Brandon. You drafted Keon Coleman in the second round. That hasn't worked out. You got Ernie Shavers, and I like Khalil Shakir a lot as a number 2 or number 3 even wide receiver. But if you look at their group, Jesse Palmer, not great. And so if Sean McDermott said we could use better receivers, and if Brandon Beane reacted the way he did in that interview, yeah, I can understand why. McDermott is out the door now, because they don't see it the way he does.
You gave me a flashback when you said Ernest Shavers.
Did I say
Tyrell
Ernest
Shavers? But that was the boxer, and then
yeah,
I thought Ernie Holmes, who was one of the defensive linemen for the Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
So it's Ernest
number 14,
Day.
Right? Shavers.
And look, injuries were an issue too. They lost Gabe Davis and Shavers to ACL tears against the Jaguars, and McDermott breathed not a word of talent after they lost. He was focused on the controversial call that took a catch that would have put the Bills in game-winning field goal range and turned it into an interception. McDermott talked about it after the game. He called Jay Skursky of the Buffalo News to talk to him after they saw the pool report from referee Carl Cheffers. He had more to say. McDermott disagreed with the call. And in hindsight, why did McDermott care so much about it? Because that moment cost him his job, and he knew it was coming. I think that we now, with the benefit of what happened on Monday, you just don't wake up and get fired. You don't walk into the room like Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas and get whacked. You know it's coming, and he also should have known it was coming. I mean, they pull into there's no other cars around, into an empty garage. Of course he knows it's. How did he not know he's taking a bullet to the back of the head until they open the door and there's nobody in there? For a coach who's going to get whacked, there's a vibe. You know it. You feel it. You sense it. There's a conspiracy against you. They are planning their next move to be activated once you lose. And I know the word conspiracy takes a bad rap now because of all the unfounded, crazy-ass conspiracy theories out there, but let's be realistic. There were people in the Bills organization that had the wheels in motion to fire Sean McDermott whenever they lost if they didn't get to the Super Bowl. And the question is, Michael, how far did he have to go to cause that plan to be abandoned? Would it have been enough to get to the AFC Championship, or did he have to get to the Super Bowl?
That's a great question. One, we've got it going today. I gave you Ernie Shavers. You gave us Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas. You said Tommy DeVito, which would have been interesting.
Wasn't that his name? It was
Tommy.
Oh, it was. It was Tommy.
It was Tommy. Yeah. Okay, Tommy DeVito. So I was thinking of the quarterback. Anyway, but you're right. So here's the thing. I don't think the AFC Championship would have been enough if the schedule unfolded the way if it stayed the same way. So if the Broncos lose to the Bills and the Patriots still beat the Texans, you go to New England. You've owned them. You had 5 straight division titles. No Tom Brady, no Bill Belichick. You go to New England and you lose a conference championship game to a team that finished in last place in the division last year. So we don't go to the Super Bowl with Josh Allen, and they go to the Super Bowl with Drake May in his second year. I think that would have done it too. I think he had to get to the Super Bowl. That's their directive, and we know how that goes. Historically for Buffalo, nobody's going to be happy if they just get to the Super Bowl in Buffalo. Like Cleveland, they'll just be happy to get to the Super Bowl. A lot of franchises, they're just happy to get there. Jacksonville, they'll be happy to get there. Buffalo, you got to get there, and you got all this historical weight on your shoulders. You have to win it. I think Sean McDermott, it was pretty clear, had to win the Super Bowl. And if you don't win the Super Bowl, we're going to move on, and that's what they did.
It would have been something if they'd gone to the Super Bowl and lost and he'd gotten fired in February. That would have been something. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.